When the right people come together at the right moment, when they care almost as much about winning as they do about each other, they can become the best of the best.
Welcome to the best soccer show, the best soccer show in the whole world.
Here we go. It's the best soccer show. Jason Davis on a Thursday evening, hanging out with you, the American soccer fan, without my best bud, Jared Dubois, who is otherwise indisposed. I am as disappointed as you are. I promise. But we are here to deliver a quality American soccer program to you, and I've got a lot that I want to talk about over the next hour or so. I will go ahead and throw up the phone number because I do indeed have the number working. The phone lines are open. If you want to just be in the chat and drop in very smart comments in there, of course, you can do that, and I will acknowledge them. Shout out to Nicholas Murray, who is always here. Thank you, Nicholas, for your support. Shout out to the president of the Sons of Ben, Justin Friedberg, who is Mr. President. Am I supposed to salute you? I don't know how it works in the Sons of Ben. Shout out to my man JTT, Jonathan Tannewald, who was here a lot last week.
JTT? OMFPG-13, it's JTT!
Who? JTT was incredible last week. Thank you for that. Shout out to Robert from LA on Twitch. Love that. Let's see what else I got. Aaron, who is always here, always hitting me up on Morning Kick Around as well. Shout out to the Morning Kick Around program. If you don't know about that, please support it on YouTube. Morning is one word. Kick Around is one word. And then you can watch the show Monday, Wednesday, Friday mornings, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Participate there. Watch everything back after the fact. It's also a podcast, just like we're a podcast here at the Best Soccer Show as well. Morgan, I'm drinking beers at a minor league baseball game. That is an incredible thing to be doing right now and participating in the best. Morgan, you're the best. Shout out to Morgs. That is incredible stuff. I really appreciate. Now I'm like desperately looking for her drop because I got to play the Morgan drop. Oh, there it is. Right there.
Morgan has done it!
Shout out to Morgan. Shout out to Holden Cribb hitting us up here as well. My man Nate. Who am I missing? Frank in the OC. SEO. Man, you guys are coming at me hard right now. Okay. Acknowledging everybody. Thank you very much for being here tonight on a Thursday on the Best Soccer Show. You can call me up on it on any topic this evening, and we will dive straight into it. While I'm doing plugs, let me hit the Patreon. We always forget to do it at the top of the show. Patreon.com/thebestsoccershow. Not only do you get access to an incredible community of most of the people that I've already said hi to this evening, plus others on the Besties Slack, you also get access to what I'm calling, thanks to Ben, who's one of our members over on the Slack, the Daily Davis. And I am dropping videos, which end up as podcasts in the bonus feed. So you don't have to look at me. You don't have to stare at my face. You can just listen to me talk about whatever's on my mind. Today, the Daily Davis was a little behind the scenes on the radio gig. Today we had an air check. My show with Eric Winald at WTF, we had an air. Oh, you guys know I have a radio show.
WNBC. WNBC.
You guys know I have a radio show? As my man Tom Opp. What's up, Tom Opp? Jason Hoover. I'm not missing you, Jason. Shout out to Jason as well. Always love Jasons. How could I forget about Jason? Okay. Anyway, the Daily Davis on the Best Soccer Show, Patreon. There's basically one every day. It's sort of like a mini podcast, some thoughts, dropping some things in soccer, and otherwise, again, behind the scenes on the air check that I did for WNBC today with Mr. Winalda, which was an interesting experience. All good, all positive. Guess what? I'm good at my job. Yay! That's what they think anyway. I don't know if I'm pretending and they're just buying it. But I did that. I will also mention that I have a newsletter. I figured a couple things. Number one, I'm doing a bunch of stuff, and it would be nice to be able to update people on sort of like what I'm doing and where they can find it. Like if you like me, and some of you do, I would like to be able to tell you I have a Best Soccer Show episode out. I have a Morning Kick Around episode out that features these topics. I have whatever I'm doing, the radio show, obviously, or but I also, and it's been a while, I also wanted to write again. And that's a thing that is sort of like an identity marker for me. Like, I'm a writer. But if you don't flex that muscle for a long time, it starts to become weird to call yourself a writer or to even think of yourself as a writer. So I thought I will create a space where if I have thoughts, I could drop them. It's almost like, what's that thing we used to do? Actually, it's the thing I started with before I started doing podcasts and then the radio. I think it's like web blah. Is it called a blog? I think it's called a blog. So it's a newsletter that will hit your inbox if you sign up, but it's basically a blog. Let's be honest about it. It's a place for me to dump some thoughts. I wrote about Chattanooga FC and the Red Wolves for the newsletter. It was my first proper post. I was kind of like, I got to get some thoughts out. I learned some things from people responding to it on Blue Sky. By the way, you could also follow me on Blue Sky at Davis Jason in that order. I'm sharing things like the newsletter on Blue Sky. But I wanted to write about Chattanooga FC and the Red Wolves and sort of the history there and how excited I was for that game last night, which will be a topic on this show this evening. I have brought visual aids, and if you're listening to this via podcast after the fact, you can always go back to the video show on YouTube at The Best Soccer Show. Look for The Best Soccer Show over there if you missed the video elements. But we will be watching some events from Chattanooga last night, and I am pretty excited. In fact, this is a little bit of an Open Cup celebration on the show tonight because I've been really enjoying this edition of the Open Cup. We just finished the second round of the tournament, and some incredible things have happened. But I would like to lead with the U.S. men's national team. And now, although it feels like the Nations League finals, the failures, the double loss window for the U.S. men is a long time ago, it's kind of not. Like, it's kind of not. It's kind of just still right there. And even though our attention is turned back to the club game or the Open Cup or Major League Soccer or USL or whatever else is happening in the world of soccer, then even though that's there, we still have to reckon with this. And I know we talked about the effort issue, and last week with JTT's help, and man, I'm gonna get a lot of use out of this. Is that JTT?
OMFPG-13, it's JTT!
Who? We put together the Something to Prove 11. I think we put together a pretty decent team of guys that have something to prove. Some people took issue. Georgi Mihalovic is a name that some people took issue with. It's an interesting experiment because Pochettino's not going to call in the Something to Prove group. He's going to call in the guys that are proven at a pretty high level. And what we need to see from them is a response to the disappointment and failure at the Nations League. And it occurred to me, there's a couple of things that are certainly out there in the ether. Number one is this one. This is a story about Bo Durr. Some of you know Bo Durr, American soccer writer. He's written books on soccer in America, a couple of different I think Bo's got 3 or 4 books to his name, as a matter of fact. And Bo's writing at The Guardian. This is a Guardian story. The U.S. men's national team aren't just underachievers. They're unlikable. He then talks about the World Cup approaching here in these United States of America. He says they lack charisma, they lack underdog charm, they don't have striking victories like their predecessors. Okay, and I want to take these apart individually because I think they are all interesting to consider when we talk about this version of the U.S. men's national team. So, number one, lack of charisma. I would love to know from everybody watching right now, and definitely hit us up, social media, wherever, after the fact, in the comments on the video, on YouTube, does this team lack chemistry? Now, you can either do this individually and talk about players. Look, there's a picture of Christian Pulisic attached to this story. You know, frustrated Pulisic grabbing his face as he's dealing with disappointment with the U.S. men's national team. And I think we talked about the response of Pulisic after, I can't remember which game it was. I don't know if it was the Panama game or the Canada game. He talked about how much he cares about this team. But Pulisic he's not a big personality. He's not a guy that convinces you by the way he carries himself, the way he talks, that he does care. The words come out, but your brain, if you understand, body language, or if you're just going by what people perceive, it doesn't look like he's completely bought in. Everything is kind of low key. It's I really care about this national team. I mean, his voice isn't that husky. I can't help it. Yeah, I don't really. It's like that. It doesn't feel like he's really engaged with it. He doesn't have a ton of charisma as an individual, right? And I think I'd say that Weston McKennie has a ton of charisma, but it tends to be sort of an off-the-field charisma. When he's sitting across the table from Giorgio Chiellini talking about putting ranch on pizza, Weston McKennie's extremely likable. But when it comes to the way we perceive him in the national team, maybe not so much. I don't know. That's eye of the beholder stuff. This is just your perception of what you think about these individual players. I think Tyler Adams has charisma, but does it come through with the national team? I think Jedi Robinson has charisma, but does it come through with the national team? No, and this brings me to this point of, this is an aggregate thing. Like, if we're talking about charisma, we're talking about, like, on the whole, does this team have charisma? Now, I'm going to tell you why I think this is the wrong line of thinking here in a second. Okay, and just to get some thoughts in here on what we've already talked about. Justin, lacking charisma makes one unlikable? Because if so, I guess I'm unlikable. I think you've got charisma, Justin. You don't get elected president without having charisma. All right? He also says people are trying to make Pulisic into the type of leader he's not, and I think that's the root of it. I do think that this is a disconnect, right? Christian Pulisic is, for most people, whether he's the best player, he's certainly the highest profile player in the U.S. men's national team, which conveys upon him this sense that he needs to be a leader. It's like, well, if you're the guy everybody talks about, well, you better lead. But I don't know if that's fair to him, right? I don't know if that's necessarily what we should be asking of Christian Pulisic. But in the absence of him doing it, somebody else has to. Somebody else has to step up and sort of be the leader. Now, Tyler Adams is the guy I think of as the captain. The guy who I think of as the dude that leads by example, and then also talks a good game, but maybe he's too polished. I don't know. Again, we're being very nitpicky here because of this idea that they lack charisma or they're not likable in this sense, right? Now, okay, and this is another thing. SEO Spider, Weston with a ripped shirt against Mexico seems lost to memory. Things that this team has done, not every one of them, but several of them who were part of the team that went into 2022. That did some things in CONCACAF against Mexico, that those things sort of have been forgotten when we consider where they are likability-wise. I think I wore my album cover shirt last week, the one with Christian Pulisic, shirt off, in Denver, shushing the crowd after making a penalty kick to help the United States beat Mexico in a Nations League final. Like, would that team not have charisma? And it's mostly the same team. There's some faces in that picture that really aren't in the team anymore, and some things have changed. But does this team that suddenly sapped of charisma? Because why? Because why? We'll get to that, right? So number 2, underdog charm. Is the United States men's national team lacking underdog charm? I believe that Bo's probably correct about this one. And this is a function of the development of American soccer. This is a function of the way the American player has become more common in some higher profile places, like Milan, like Juventus, right? Those kinds of places. Now, it's not like every one of our national teamers is in a Champions League environment in a top 5 league. That's certainly not it. We're not there yet. But what we do have is guys who went to Europe young. What we do have is a Pulisic or a McKennie or even a Reina who went to Europe young, and they become imbued with this expectation that they're going to be stars. And even if they are, relatively speaking, stars a la Christian Pulisic, they can no longer be underdogs. Or they can no longer be the guys that are like fighting against the system that holds them back. They can no longer be the guys that's like, oh, I got to prove myself. I'm American. I know it came up in the Pulisic doc, and Zlatan Ibrahimovic dismissed the idea that there's any bias against Americans. I know Clint Dempsey has been recently talking about this over on the CBS Golazo network. right? I know that there's still this thing out in the air, but look, American soccer fans, whatever Europeans think of American soccer fans, I think American soccer fans are tired of thinking about our team as underdogs. And because the fan base has grown to a certain point and has a certain character, right? A certain character in terms of like how we think about this team. There was a time, and this is not me saying like, this is not, oh, get off my lawn, things were different in my days and you kids don't get it. I'm just kind of pointing out a difference in attitude. There was a time, and some of you were old enough to remember this, when anything that happened around the U.S. men's national team that was good was like the sky was opening up and angels were calling down upon us and blessing us and all those things, right? Like, oh my God, look at that. We beat Brazil. Giving obviously the quarterfinal run in 2002 is a good example of this. Right? These things that happened all felt like, I can't believe that we are doing this. But now a lot of those things are done. Right? Now, obviously, there is still this idea of like, if you make a semifinal, but we're at a point now where because of a number of World Cups that have come and gone without the United States breaking through, it feels like, well, I mean, now they're just disappointments. Now they're just, no, whatever. They can't do the same thing a 2002 team with like, all MLS players, Landon Donovan, DeMarcus Beasley did. I mean, again, this is not to say that this is the literal way they should be thought of, but this is the perception. Perception matters in this situation. So underdog charm, it's out the window. Now, that is also connected to the third one, striking victories of their predecessors. They don't have those. Here's why they don't have those. Because they can't play any of the big countries because there are no dates available. I'm not really. There may be a date here or there when you can face off against a top team or a higher level team than you are perceived to be, in which case you might have an opportunity to win those games. But let's not act like previous generations of the U.S. men's national team had a habit of beating top teams. They did it occasionally. And in every case, we marked that moment and celebrated like it was our big breakthrough. And I'm going to go back up in the comments here to Nate. We beat Spain. We beat Spain in, what year was that, Nate? Let me check. 2009. We beat Spain at the Confederations Cup in 2009, a tournament that at the time was being derided for not being all that important. But for us, it was a magnificent thing. And certainly Spain didn't want to lose to the United States, but we snuck up on Spain, right? We showed this grit and was this fight. We got a goal from Josie Altidore that was kind of like, wow, did we luck into that a little bit? Like the way, obviously, Clint Dempsey at the back post, sneaking in, ghosting in, and scoring that goal. Like, that was a great moment for us, but it was imbued, I'm going to use that word again, imbued with this underdog energy. Because we weren't supposed to beat Spain. Like, we were supposed to go toe-to-toe with anybody in that tournament. I remember that first half against Brazil. Second half, they came out and they just put us to the sword, and we're like, oh, we're still behind. We're still not quite there yet. We are done. Most people are done. Certainly media that started to pay attention to this team around 2009, 2010, going 2014, missing a World Cup in 2018, which is a major factor in all of this. Let's not pretend otherwise. This is a team now that no longer gets the benefit of the doubt. We cannot get enough games against top-level teams to be in a position to spring surprise victories and get the striking victories that Bo points to. We just can't. So what does that leave us? It leaves us CONCACAF. And now, because of some decline post-Berhalter, et cetera, Pochettino getting his feet wet, maybe a player base that is a little bit disconnected. And I'm going to show you a moment here that has come up in recent days that we didn't talk about during the Nations League that maybe needs our attention, but maybe there is some, like, all these things can be true at the same time. Like, all these things can be true at the same time. That there is just a sense of entitlement on the player's part that we still haven't figured out. That we have a group of players that, no longer have underdog energy, no longer feel like they have anything to prove because they are playing at top-level clubs in Europe when their predecessors in teams before, many of them, not all of them, still felt like they had to get over some anti-American feeling. There's a lot of things here that I think are very interesting when it comes to that. Now, I'm going to play a video for you in a moment from the Nations League finals that I want to talk about, but I'm going to share a post on Blue Sky from Kim McCauley first before I do that. It's crazy how many people simply stop caring forever after Cuva. So many are never coming back to more than casual once every 4 years fandom. And then actually she says that it makes perfect sense actually down there underneath my phone banner. You can see that. Not really crazy, makes perfect sense. Is this where we're at? Like we are now at a point where because of Cuva, because of the failure to qualify for 2018, people just checked out. Now that's fans, but obviously this kind of trickles into the team as well. Kind of trickles into this mentality of like obviously we went to the World Cup in 22, we qualified, but that was that group mentality of like we're young, we have to prove ourselves under Berhalter has just completely dissipated. It's gone. And it's not an argument for keeping Berhalter, clearly. But like how do you force players who some people have accused of not going all in, of not putting every effort they can into the national team when they show up? How do you kind of get them past that psychological barrier? Now, again, in terms of this mentality, maybe feeling like they are entitled to something, so Kim's post on Blue Sky was in response to a post about this moment.
That tackle for a while, and that was Christian Pulisic's last involvement in the game. He will be subbed off here. His number is up on the board. Leaves this Nations League without scoring a goal. Now, the number here went up on the board. It was Tessman for Pulisic, and he waved off the substitution. Mauricio Pochettino is throwing his arms up in the air here, guessing in confusion as to why they didn't make this substitution.
I'm going to pause it there. The rest of it is nothing. Pulisic doesn't do anything with the free kick. But this is a moment this is Canada. This is the third place game, right? The United States down 2-1, as you see. Pulisic is being pulled off the field for a substitute. You saw the substitute, Tessman, Reyna, and I can't remember who the other one was. Is this a thing? Like, as fans, let's talk about this. Is this a thing? Christian Pulisic refuses to come off because he wants to take the free kick. Now, I've seen this interpreted as he is defying his coach. He is entitled. He is a problem. Like, this is a problem mentality from Christian Pulisic. He has the wrong mentality, and he did the wrong thing here. And instead of doing what his coach asked, because we should be trusting in Pochettino, right? Christian Pulisic takes it upon himself to wave off the substitute and stay on the field. And you saw the exasperation from Pochettino. You saw him. They heard Tony Meola say that he threw up his hands, and then you saw him hands in the pocket, shaking his head. Now, no coach likes to be defied. Like, no coach wants any player that he is managing to say, no, coach, I'm not doing what you asked. So is this indicative of the mentality problem? And Christian Pulisic is obviously an avatar for this because he is the most high-profile player on the team. Or is this indicative of Christian Pulisic's desire to put the team on his back, which can also be a problem, but doesn't indicate that he doesn't care? Right, which doesn't indicate that he's not putting in an effort. If anything, his effort is just misguided. And at some point, do you say, well, Christian Pulisic should be in charge of his effort in a sense to be able to point in the right direction, and this isn't the right direction, and this is a problem, right? Or is it and this is exactly what I wanted to get to. Trooper Barry. Isn't that result dependent, though? The U.S. comes back to win. Pulisic would have been hailed for his guts and refusal to quit. Exactly. So when we talk about whether or not the U.S. men's national team is likable, right? When we talk about this headline from Baudeur that says the U.S. men's national team aren't just underachievers, they're unlikable. How much of this is just based on the fact they're not winning right now? They're not playing good soccer, right? We want to connect their likability and, by extension, obviously, their effort level and all those things to the results. And again, this assumes, by the way, that they're good enough to beat Panama, which I do think they are. Right, I do think they are good enough to beat Panama, and they're most of the time, and they should beat Panama, and this is why it's a disappointment. If we didn't think they were good enough to beat Panama, nobody would be upset about this. Those of us who care, post-Cuva. But obviously, again, if they win the game, nobody looks at that moment from Christian Pulisic and says, well, he's the problem, or this attitude is the problem. Yeah, and again, I have the tweet. I'm sorry, the post. I'm sorry, the skeet. Is that what we call it? We're doing that, right? Who's down? Blue Sky. It's a wild place. Right, this is from Peter posts the video that Kim is responding to. We're more than a week away from this, and I remain surprised at the lack of discussion, review, questions, or concern about this moment. When it happened, I was positive it would be all we were talking about until the next window. But I don't know. I don't know if this is right. And I guess again, I'm going to navel gaze for a second, guys. And maybe we can do that together as a fan base. But is this like we're doing something wrong if we're not focused on that moment? Right? Is this an indication that we're not holding this team to account the right way? Which, by the way, gets real granular and real weird if we're like, well, we're applying pressure to the national team via our discussion about them, but we're not doing it the right way. And this also brings me to something else that's been going on recently. And that's the generated controversy that comes from what former national team players are saying about this national team. Now, I work with one of those former national team players. You may have heard of him. His name is Eric Winalda. I hear his opinions on a daily basis. But I also know that Tony Meola's out there, not just from calling this game, but obviously on Call It What You Want, I think, which he does with two other former national team players, Jimmy Conrad and Charlie Davies. I know Landon Donovan and Tim Howard are doing a podcast where they're opining on everything American national team soccer, as far as I can tell. This is the ecosystem that we live in now, right? And as somebody who worked in soccer media as a writer, right? Now I'm doing radio, it's a different thing. But as a writer on the internet, trying to get people to click on my stories or trying to write things that were interesting so people would give me more jobs so I could make more money writing, I find it tough to be overly critical about this. But damn it, if I never see another headline based on what a former national team player says about this national team, that'll be the best day. That'll be the best day. It's my job to stay on top of soccer news, on top of soccer media, and every single day I see a story that is written about what a national teamer said about this team, about what Landon Donovan said about this team, or what Tim Howard said about this team, or what Tony Meola said about this team, or what Tab Ramos said about this team, about what Eric Winalda said about this team. About Alexi Lawless says about this team. I left out Alexi Lawless. I don't know how I did that. And I'm not begrudging these guys the right to work in soccer media, and we are richer for the culture to have former national teamers here in this moment being part of the picture. But I don't know. It doesn't feel like anything. It doesn't feel substantive to have stories being written at goal.com. Does anybody know people at goal.com? Not the writers. The writers, I can't have beef with the writers. They are doing what they are assigned to do. But goal.com has the worst story format that has ever been conceived by anybody ever. It is terrible. Anyway. And maybe it's not just goal.com, right? It is other places too, but goal.com, man. Oh, okay. Wow. I get it. Some former national teamer who people think is important said something about the current national team, but we're not getting anything new out of these conversations as far as I can tell. And I guess I would have to listen to every podcast, watch every broadcast, hear all of these comments in their original form in order to really get the sense of what they're trying to say. But it feels like it's just a bunch of noise at this point. It just feels like, okay, we're just saying stuff to say stuff. And of course, right, this is the thing. It always, and not being a national team player and working with one, I always feel stuck because if you make declarative statements, binary statements about this national team not caring as much as the old ones, or not trying as hard, or in some cases, there's this very distinct effort on the part of the old-timers to claim that these players aren't better players. Now, the results kind of back them up. I get that. But they're not better players because they play in Champions League clubs in Europe. It's just that American players have been recognized as being good enough to play in those environments. And they themselves could have played in those environments if they had been given the chance. That's an unprovable thing. That's completely unprovable. It's just an opinion, but it is stated as fact. I don't know. Again, I don't know that any of this matters. And I guess it's better to have regular conversation than not. But I would like to see somebody say something new. All right, before I move to the Open Cup and talk about some fun stuff that happened there, I want to talk about Mauricio Pochettino. As a coach, as a guy in charge of our national team. Because in the day job over at this one,
WNBC. WNBC.
If you like that show, by the way, if you like me, you know, it wouldn't hurt to send an email to SiriusXM's customer service and be like, you know what my favorite show is? It's the one with Jason Davis on it. That would be cool. That would be cool. Have a radio show. Yeah, that'd be cool. But over there, it's a lot of Premier League, right? Like we did a whole thing on the national team yesterday in the likability, which I thought was really good. But we talk a lot about the Premier League. We talk a lot about the Premier League. People love you guys love the Premier League? All right, I watch the Premier League too. Like I'm not against the Premier League. And one of the stories of the year in the Premier League is Tottenham Hotspur. Like I was going to say something, I was going to have some qualifier, some adjective, but no, I don't need to. You all know what I mean when I say Tottenham Hot. It's like just put your hands out and like point in that direction. Tottenham Hotspur. It's like that movie they made about the joke. You guys remember this? The Aristocrats. Am I the only one? Is this memory hold for anybody else? But this is a thing, like, I'll explain it, even though some of you probably know what I'm talking about. But there was this story about this famous joke that was told all over Hollywood. And it was called The Aristocrats. And what it was this way for comedians to tell the grossest joke, like the most obscene joke they possibly could, with horrific stuff happening in the story of this joke. And it's all based around a family act that goes into a producer's office to audition or to show them, hey, we want a job, put us in movies, whatever the framing of the story was, framing of the joke. And then they would do this act. And the way the comedian telling the joke would do it is he or she would make up the most disgusting thing possible. And at the end of it, they would go, The Aristocrats. I think that was the basis of it. And they made a whole movie that I never watched based on this idea of the Aristocrats, right? And that's what Tottenham is kind of, right? It's like the whole season, Tottenham. That's kind of thing. All right, anyway. Tottenham is in the news constantly because they are a roller coaster. They are a garbage fire. They are hilarious, unless you're a Tottenham fan, in which they are very frustrating. And they have a manager, Ange Postecoglou. And I know a lot of you already know this, and I apologize, but I feel like I got to kind of give some exposition. Ange is an Australian dude. He has had a lot of success in his career in Australia and then in Scotland at Celtic. And he is a character. Like lots of Aussies are characters, but Ange is a character. And he plays this insanely risky version of the game where his back line or his defenders are pushed way up high. Anyway, it's incredible how Ange kind of has been pulled back and forth, lauded for what he did at Tottenham initially, but then things went sideways and southwards, and now he's under immense pressure. Tottenham lost today to Chelsea in the Premier League, and they are down in 14th position, which is not where Tottenham ever wants to be. And in any other year, Ange would probably be fired by now. But I think there are lots of things working at Tottenham that have them decided, you know what we're going to do? We're going to hold on to Ange for 8 more matches, and then we'll give him his walking papers and he'll be gone. But what this means now is he's a lame duck manager. Like, it feels like he's completely a lame duck manager. No matter what he does now, it's not going to be enough to save his job. So he's just kind of going through the motions, but he's still trying to engage, and he keeps getting asked about his job, about how the fans feel about him, whether he's, when he gets booed, how he feels, all these things. And all of this stuff is happening right after a story a couple of weeks ago that Mauricio Pochettino went to London and had lunch with Tottenham leadership, or coffee, or tea, or scones. That doesn't make any scone. Nicholas Murray, help me out. Why is it scones? Isn't there an E in there? Isn't that English is a weird language? I get it. Like, I barely speak it myself. But scones? Anyway, what Ange did in London was meet with Tottenham brass. Of course, I'm sorry, Ange, Mauricio Pochettino. What Mauricio Pochettino did in London was meet with Tottenham brass, and this was portrayed as a friendly gathering of old friends. Like just a couple of blokes sitting around drinking tea, enjoying memories of Mauricio Pochettino's times at Spurs, or something like that, right? And Pochettino has time on his hands. He is a national team manager. There are not that many games. There's only so much scouting you can do. There's only so much tape review you can do. There's only so much putting up the cones and taking them down. I don't know what else. I mean, what else would he do, right? During the period before the Nations League final, Mauricio Pochettino was in the Middle East, coaching an all-star team in a charity match. Because what else is he going to do? He's got time on his hands. He's an idle dude, except for these quick moments of camps and games. So he went to London, where he has managed a couple of teams. And he met with Tottenham's leadership to have scones. I feel like that. How does Paul Hollywood say it? Because that's how I should say it. He goes and he drinks tea and he eats the cakes, whatever he did, has lunch. And then it was reported that he said he would love to go back to Spurs. Pochettino said he wants to reunite with Spurs in the future. That's what he said. So this now means that Ange Postecoglou has to answer questions about Mauricio Pochettino taking his job. And I think this leads us to a natural question of whether or not Mauricio Pochettino is thinking about his next job as he is in charge of the U.S. men's national team ahead of a World Cup in the United States of America in 2026. Is Pochettino bought in? Like, if we're going to question the effort, the commitment of our players, if we're going to question their attitude, is it fair to question Pochettino's attitude? Like I said at the time, this is a coup. This is the best manager on paper that the United States has ever hired for the men's national team program. They would never had anybody with a resume like Mauricio Pochettino's. Like, never. We had a guy with an incredible playing resume in Jurgen Klinsmann. His managerial resume, not all that great. We had guys who proved to be incredible coaches like Bruce Arena, but obviously that ended poorly. Right? We've had guys that were like on their way up or strivers or smart coaches, but clearly hadn't achieved things in Europe like Bob. Right? Bora was an incredibly interesting dude, but he was a mercenary. And he had coached in Mexico, and he coached the Mexican national team, and coached Costa Rica. Right? This question of like, okay, Pochettino, on paper, you would have to hire him. If he says yes and you have the money, you hire him. There's no argument that you don't. But what you can't account for is when he gets the job, whether he is 100% bought in. And it's very possible that Pochettino miscalculated. That maybe he looked at the team and maybe he saw what they did at the World Cup in 2022. And even with the Copa America experience, maybe he thought, hey, look, they've got one of the best players at Milan. They've got a talented midfielder who lines up every week in multiple positions, depending on the week. Well, he plays one position each week, but lines up in multiple positions in Weston McKennie. They've got Tim Weah. They've got one of the best left backs in the Premier League in Jedi Robinson. Right? They have an up-and-coming goal-scoring talent in Ricardo Pepi or Fowler Balogun. Pick your poison there. Oh, should I do that? Actually, no. There we go. Pick your poison. Like maybe he thought it was going to be easier. Do we have a sense of that? Like, do we think that maybe Pochettino thought this gig was going to be easier than it's been? And he's found out now that it's not, that there's something wrong with the group, and maybe there's something tactical. I still do not understand the Yunus Musa positioning. I just don't get it. And I'm not Mauricio Pochettino. I haven't been to a Champions League final. Like, explain it to me, because I don't get it. On that field, in that place, with that team, I don't know. I mean, again, what is the disconnect? Like, and I'm not, again, I don't think that Mauricio Pochettino doesn't care. I don't want to jump to that conclusion, just like I don't want to jump to the conclusion that the players don't care. And I feel uncomfortable questioning the effort of the players. Because one or two chances changes our perception completely. Like, it changes our perception completely if they score one goal against Panama, go into extra time or penalties and like, we wouldn't say, oh, what an incredible performance by the U.S. men's national team. Like, we wouldn't say, oh, that's, that is, that is something we would be putting up on the wall. Look at this, how they beat Panama in extra time or in penalties. Or the same thing against anybody in the final. Or even if they had beaten Canada, right? Like, that would have given a little bit of joy coming out of those two games. I don't know. I've heard it said by some people whose names I will not mention, because this is not their show.
WNBC. WNBC.
That it seems like maybe Pochettino is treating this as a vacation or as just a waypoint on the way to his next club job. And again, I don't even know if that's necessarily a problem. I get the sense the man works. It's also possible, since we're here, that he's not a good fit. That culturally there's something off. That's possible. I also think that this particular national team is difficult cultural-wise. Like, culturally, I think this is a difficult team to get a handle on because of where these players all play and where they come from when they join the team every camp. Some of them, again, not that they're not good players, but what is a national team? It's more than just that's a good player, that's a good player, that's a good player. I mean, this is why in most Latin American countries, it's la selección. Like, it is the selection, not the idea of like, oh, he's the best left back in our pool, he comes in no matter what. It's what pieces work together. And a lot of times that's about spirit, that's about culture, that's about attitude, that's about mentality. Lionel Messi kept players out of the Argentina national team for years who were very good players simply because he didn't get along with them. Now, at the time, it maybe looked bad. Ultimately, it works out when they win a World Cup in Copa Americas. Right? It just, again, I just want to, I don't know, man. If they were winning, it would, none of this would matter, obviously. And we would all push this aside. It wouldn't matter what the old timers say. And it wouldn't matter whether Pochettino is taking tea with Tottenham Hotspur people. It wouldn't matter. None of this stuff would matter. But because they have run up against bad results, all these things feel like they're very important. Feel like they're critical. All right, that's it. That's the national team stuff. Now let's have some fun. Let's talk about the U.S. Open Cup. How many people watch the U.S. Open Cup on Tuesday or Wednesday night? Last night, I stayed up later than I wanted to, so that I could see what was going on in one Chattanooga, Tennessee. Chattanooga, Tennessee, which was sort of the epicenter of American soccer on one Wednesday night in April. Second round match, first ever match between Chattanooga FC, I'm making a train reference, Chattanooga Choo Choo, the little engine that could, Chattanooga FC, a team that sort of paved the way for what Detroit City has become. A team that ginned up a bunch of excitement for soccer in a town where a lot of people didn't even know there was interest in soccer in Tennessee, who built a culture and a fan base, And then through the machinations of American soccer and capitalism and carpetbagging, if you want to call it that, and all sorts of things, there ends up being another team 8 miles away in the Chattanooga Red Wolves of USL League One. And so last night was a grudge match. And I think people are taking sides in all of this, and it's sort of been fascinating because I'm covering a lot of USL and lower division stories on Morning Kickaround. It's been fascinating to watch the people that I know in that world sort of wrestle. Not wrestle, that's not fair. I think they are pretty clear-eyed, a lot of them. But there is a sense that USL was the American soccer savior. USL, with its pro-rel plan, was finally going to move American soccer in the right direction. And that gives USL this veneer, and I know we have some USL people in the building right now with us in the chat. This is not meant to be any disrespect to USL, but there was certainly this sense that USL was doing something that nobody else had the balls to do, and that gave them a pass on some things. But people in Chattanooga will tell you, wait a second, USL is actually the devil. Because what USL did was let the Red Wolves come to town with a guy from Utah to start a team on top of a team that already exists. And if you romanticize this, Chattanooga FC is the team that people think of as the good side, and the Red Wolves are the bad side. Now, that's obviously not how everybody feels. Hence the events of last night. So we had 2 free kick goals in the first half of that match at Finley Stadium, home of Chattanooga FC, which at one point the Red Wolves tried to steal from Chattanooga FC, per the history. Then we had a second half with no goals. We go to added time, and then we go to penalty kicks. And ultimately, the Red Wolves prevail in penalty kicks, much to the disappointment of the Chattanooga FC faithful who were there. I think 12,000 something on hand for this game. Incredible number on a Wednesday night for an Open Cup match between 2 lower division sides. By the way, Chattanooga FC started out amateur, eventually moved to the pros, is in MLS Next Pro, blocked off from being a USL team because of territorial rights. But after the game, after the Red Wolves won the game, things got, I guess, salty, testy, heated. Okay, here's what, let me see if I can get this to play. Let me take this phone banner down. This is what happened after the game. All right, so we've got, I think his name is like Eric Kinzer or something. I think that's his name. Number 22 for the Red Wolves decides he's going to plant a flag on Chattanooga FC's field. Like, the disrespect. I understand you won the game, man, but the absolute disrespect. Now, here are my questions, and I know there's probably more video out there, and I think that there's even some people that were on hand who have jumped into the comments on some of the Morning Kickaround videos to give us some insight. But why is there only one Chattanooga FC player trying to prevent this flag planting from happening? Why is not the whole team running out? Maybe, I don't know if everybody's moved on already and gone down the tunnel or into the locker rooms or whatever is at Finley Stadium, but doesn't it feel like this was a little weak of a response from Chattanooga FC when that team, that the team that everybody on the Chattanooga FC side thinks of as evil, was trying to plant their flag on the field? Now, another thing that's sort of lost to me is the timeline of events when it comes to what happened next. So, I don't know, again, I guess this happened next. Okay, so, again, Chattanooga Red Wolves player tries to plant a flag on the field at Finley Stadium, home of Chattanooga FC. We get a little bit of a back and forth, and then the video ends. And then this.
Putting the flag in the middle of the... Boom! That's messed up! That is messed up!
I can only presume that the players have vacated the premises or moved into the locker rooms or whatever at this point, because what we've got here is the flag's actually planted at one point. I don't know how they did that on an artificial surface. Is it planted, or is he just kind of holding it up? Like, there's some things in the physics of this that are interesting to me. But that's a kid. Right? There's a kid and some guy in shorts Who are these people? Are they fans? Do they run on the field after everybody else was gone to do what the players could not do because there was a Chattanooga FC response? Is that what went down here? Man, now, this delivered. Entertainment-wise, this absolutely delivered. And as much as I'm sort of like that guy who says, you don't look back at the umpire, you don't. At the same time, I used to be that guy. I mean, baseball kind of puts all this on you. There's unwritten rules and all that stuff. You guys know we've talked about this. American sports discussion has revolved around unwritten rules in baseball for way too long. I'm like, flip the bat now. Like, entertainment. Flip the bat. Go ahead. Do, whatever. If the pitcher doesn't want to be shown up, the pitcher needs to make a better pitch. That's kind of where I'm at now. I don't know, though. I don't know about this. Putting your flag into somebody else's field, particularly, again, the players trying it and then getting a resistance. All right, maybe what? Fair enough. I took my shot, and then, okay, they weren't going to let me do it. All right, now, all right, we all go back, and we're going to go to the locker room and celebrate however the Red Bulls celebrated last night. But then the kid, and I'm assuming this is his dad. I don't know. I mean, there are plenty of Red Bulls fans there, I guess, and obviously some CFC fans because this video is clearly from the CFC side. But, man, it's like, whoa, like, I don't know. It's like disrespectful and aggressive. But if it adds to the heat of the rivalry, I think we're good for it. Now, some other things that came out of last night that I wanted to highlight. El Farolito, the last open division team left. They win. They beat Monterey Bay. They will move on in the tournament to the third round. So they are our true Cinderella story in the U.S. Open Cup. And you've probably heard about this team before. They're out of San Francisco. Their name is tied to a restaurant that is famous for its burritos. And this is an El Farolito burrito right there. Like that, does that look... I'm not a burrito expert. Like, I've eaten some burritos in my life. Don't get me wrong. In fact, I've eaten a range of burritos. I've had some good, pretty decent. I guess I don't know where Chipotle falls in the burrito game. Like, is Chipotle middle of the pack? Is it overrated? Is it bad? Okay. I don't know. Somebody help me out and I'm an East Coast guy, so burritos are not really part of the regular street food or counter food life, except for Chipotle. I have had plenty of really bad 7-Eleven burritos after I've had too much to drink. Anybody else want to cop to that? Like, anybody else want to cop to buying a burrito at 7-Eleven at like 3 o'clock in the morning? Maybe not. Nobody else? Chipotle is yuppie food, says Placata. I that sounds right. I don't even like Chipotle. I'm not even a Chipotle guy. But I want to try this. I want to try this burrito. Here's another shot of a different burrito with a backdrop. This is like, this is Instagram quality burrito photos right here. It looks good. And I'm going to be in San Francisco in, I guess it's about 26 days. 26 days from now, I will be landing in San Francisco. And I haven't yet figured out how to open up the topic with my wife of going to El Farolito and getting the burrito, but maybe more importantly, taking a photo in front of the restaurant. Because I want to be like, I came to the home of the El Farolito Football Club that has now beaten a pro side and is moving on in the U.S. Open Cup. It is everybody's Cinderella story in this tournament. I want to go. I definitely do. I want to go. Another couple of things from the Open Cup last night that I thought are worth highlighting. This is John. Oh, let me get that burrito off the screen. John Morrissey, USLTactics.com, writes a backheeled. He did a recap of the biggest moments from last night or from the Open Cup second round. Backheeled that I encourage you to go read. But he posted this last night. I didn't watch this game, so I'm trusting. He said, the referee forces Portland's fans to move out from behind the goal ahead of penalty kicks. So we got penalty kicks in this match, in the Open Cup second round. And I guess the referee wasn't having the supporters being behind the goal, trying to serve as a distraction. Let me find the result of this game. I'm guessing this is Portland Hearts of Pine up there in Portland, Maine, the team that has made incredible noise with their incredible jerseys and looks. And I'm not in the business of buying a lot of jerseys these days. Shout out to Oakland Roots who sent me this one. This is the older one. I have a new Oakland Roots jersey that I decided that I didn't put on tonight. It's hanging up in my rack. I don't buy a lot of jerseys. Hard to justify that with the family and the budget when I get sent jerseys. But man, I really want a Portland Hearts of Pine jersey. Like I really want to get my hand on that. Shout out to them. Hartford Athletic getting beaten in that penalty kick shootout. I also have a Hartford Athletic shirt. Shout out to David Herks, who no longer works there, but did for a while. Our guy David Herks. All right. So what else do I have from the U.S. Open Cup? I think I have one more highlight. Oh, this is the same game. This is the same game. Portland Hearts of Pine knocking out Joe Frazier, Hartford Athletic, then Muhammad Ali standing over. This is well done. This is proper banter. This is New England on New England crime, I guess, is what that is. The Mainers beat the Connecticut side, and the Open Cup continues to deliver. Really enjoying this one. It's delivered some great moments. Obviously, the games being on YouTube in the second round made it very easy to keep track of what was going on in the tournament. Incredible stuff. I guess with the last couple minutes I have here before we wrap up this show, CONCACAF Champions Cup. Should we talk about that? Is it worth talking about at this point? Is everybody given up hope on the Champions Cup for Major League Soccer, or is there a real belief here that Major League Soccer has a chance? Last night, LAFC beat Miami 1-0. Now, an MLS team is coming out of that quarterfinal. We know that. And we know that we're going to get at least one MLS team into the next round of the tournament because it's an MLS versus MLS matchup. Vancouver played to a 1-1 draw with Pumas. Now, normally, I would say, oh, that's it. It's over. They're going to go back down to Mexico. Vancouver will get stomped, and that will be the end of things for the Canadian champion. But remember that Vancouver had the exact same result at home against Monterrey and then went to Monterrey and got a 2-2 draw and won on away goals. Away goals are still a tiebreaker in the CONCACAF Champions Cup. So I don't think it's impossible that Vancouver could repeat the feat. I don't think it's impossible. It's unlikely, maybe, but it's not impossible. And by the way, the winner of that matchup, Vancouver and Pumas, gets the winner of LAFC Miami. So if Vancouver can pull it off, we could have an all-MLS semifinal, which would guarantee us an MLS team in the final. On the other side of the bracket, Galaxy Tigres, first leg, no goals in Los Angeles. It's really hard to believe that with this Galaxy team, the way they are currently constituted, no Ricky Puig, Pencil just coming back, obviously the turnover from last season and the start to the league, it's really hard to imagine them doing anything in that second leg against Tigres. And Tigres is one of the monsters of CONCACAF. They know how to win in this tournament. Well, it looks like that might be the end of things. And obviously the other matchup is Club America and Cruz Azul, who played to a goalless draw in their first leg, but will have one Mexican club in a semifinal guaranteed in that particular situation. So it's either LFC or Miami. And really, that's where your hopes lie. Right? That's where your hopes lie. If anybody's going to win this for Major League Soccer, it's either LAFC or Miami. And I think they're both pretty good teams. I really do. I think they're both teams that could potentially figure out a way to win the whole thing, but the odds are stacked against them. It's clearly not going to be easy. And I don't know, with the way the Leagues Cup has sort of changed the complexion of MLS versus Mexico, even though we're changing that this time around, with, I don't know, just this sense that MLS is not taking steps far enough in terms of spending to compete with Mexican clubs. It's much easier. Like, it's self-care. If you're an MLS fan, if you care about MLS as a whole doing this, if you're flying an MLS flag on your house, oh my God, how insane would that be? Think there's anybody in America that's flying an MLS league flag, like from their house? Like, I have a Puerto Rican flag on the side of my house because my wife is Puerto Rican and I did it for her uncle when he came to visit, and I thought it would be nice. And I've been known to fly American flags, and there's those in our neighborhood. But you think anybody people fly team flags? Like, there's a Buffalo Bills flag down the street or whatever. Think anybody flies like an MLS flag? Anyway, if you are like in that mode, everybody for MLS, then maybe you still care. But it's self-care to kind of go like, whatever. The league can be fun and interesting, and I want to follow it for my team, no matter what happens in that competition. All right, anything else that we should talk about before I do some more plugs and get out of here? Or is everybody taken care of? Does anybody want to talk about what Ernst Tanner apparently told Joe Lowry, or is that something for a different day? Maybe I need to get Joe Lowry on our show. I know he's on a billion podcasts already himself. But apparently Ernst Tanner saying that they have been proven right. They made the right decision to move on from Jim Curtin when Bradley Carnell has put them in, second place through 6 games? Six games. How? 6 games. I don't even need all my fingers. And he's already jumping to that conclusion. This was the right decision. I have not read the entire article, most because of the paywall, but I know that also that Ernst Tanner and Jim Curtin did not get along, and that may be part of this story. But that is a fascinating thing. So if you have anything else that you want us to cover on the Best Soccer Show, you want us to leave a comment, please do that. Again, I'll remind you about the Patreon. Patreon.com/TheBestSoccerShow. Access to the Bestie Slack, access to Daily Davis, access to all of our back catalog of bonus shows. There's a lot of really fun stuff in there, including lots of shows with Morgs. With Morgan, she's in there. Morgan has done it! Part of our history. Plus, obviously, Nikki Soup and Sal. I want to play these things. These people aren't even here, but I just want to play.
Is that JTT?
OMFPG-13, it's JTT!
Who?
That's right. You get to talk to the president of the Sons of Ben over on the Bestie Slack if you join up. That is absolutely the thing. I'm going to play this one for you.
I think I'm starting to like Cincinnati.
I'll play that one for my man Nicky Soup and Salad. I didn't even give a Jay Rodius today, did I?
Jay Rodius.
Has anybody noticed what's under my name on the lower third? Did I just like miss everybody with that? Or is that like obvious? See, when I did it, I was like, oh, this is so obvious. And I did it on the Daily Davis today. And then I was like, maybe somebody's going to say something about it, but nobody has mentioned it. And I know if you're listening to the podcast, you have no idea what I'm talking about. But on the screen, okay, thank you. Everybody now thank you, people. Trooper, Douglas, Mike, everybody saying Contra or Konami code. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm glad. You guys make me happy. This is why we do this, because it's fun. And you make me happy. Patreon.com/TheBestSoccerShow. Support us over there. Morning Kick Around. If you haven't subscribed already, it would be very nice if you did. Join us on a Monday, Wednesday, or Friday, 9:30 a.m. Eastern. Tomorrow we'll be doing some Open Cup review. I think we're also going to talk Peter Vermees with Daniel Sperry from Kansas City and just having some fun with that. The newsletter, which if you want to go look for it, it's on Ghost. So I think you can probably find it in my Blue Sky posts. I think I put it. I'll put it in I'll put it in the description maybe of this episode on the podcast and maybe in the video description as well. But just look for Jason Davis. Put Soccer Eagle, Jason Davis Soccer Eagle, because I'm leaning into that old identity a little bit. What we used to do on the radio. Again, you're going to get sort of updates on all the stuff that I'm doing, so you don't miss anything, and then also some written content. Every now and then, when the mood strikes me, I'm going to spit out some words, which is a thing I want to do in the near future. And if I really, really start feeling myself, if I really start feeling good about what's happening over there, there is a small chance, and maybe it'll be paywalled just so I protect myself and my feelings, but there might be a chance of some soccer prose, like a novel thing that I'm kind of trying to get started. I'm trying to write a novel. I'm not really writing. I'm not like, I'm writing a novel. I'm not going to be sitting at Starbucks drinking Americanos writing my novel. But like every now and then, if I get a little energy and an extra time, I might spit out some words that could be said to be part of a future novel. Does that make sense? Wow, I'm feeling very vulnerable right now, everybody. I want you to know that. I love you all. I appreciate you. Thank you very much. And, hopefully Jay Rodius is back next week, and I will see you guys then. Bye.
Calm down, Greg. It's soccer. It's soccer.
Get to the chopper!
Who asked those questions?
We are at DEFCON 1.
Oh, baby! WNBC. WNBC.
Michael freaking Arasco Fiscal.
It was there. Oh, here we go, saucing them up. Hit him. What?
What are we doing?
Zu viel Respekt für die Gegner. Zu viel Respekt für die Gegner.
Duh and or hello.
Jay Rodius.